Welcome to the Fistful of Pumpkins series, where every review has a fright to shriek. This is the first among 4 Halloween episodes, which will be followed up by 24 Christmas episodes, 1 for each day in December, with the grand finale on the 24th. I don't have enough fingers for that. The concept of a Christmas calendar series may be completely alien to non-Scandinavians, but here it's the shit. We have tons of them and some are really good. And then there's the ones that are absolutely horrendous. The story in this series is greatly inspired by movies, games, and shows that shaped me all through my youth. If you like things like Escape from New York or any other John Carpenter movies, Batman the Animated Series, or games like Metal Gear, or shows like the godfather of all internet series, Pure Ownage, then this show is made for you. If not, then this show is still made for you. So don't miss out. There'll be plenty of fun to see. In this episode, we're reviewing the song Don't Fear the Reaper. The song was made by the American band Blue Oyster Cult. It was written and sung by the band's lead guitarist, Donald Bruce Roser. He's also known by the stage name Buck Dharma. I wonder if he's been in some kind of an initiative. Roser was born on Long Island. His father was a successful saxophonist, hence Roser spent much of his childhood listening to jazz. He was also greatly influenced by the British invasion of 1964. Now wait a minute. Did the Brits invade the US in 1964? Yes, they did. After they themselves had been invaded back in the good old 50s. I never heard that. Well, they did. With the power of rock and roll, that is. Now let me explain. The American rock and blues became very popular in the UK back in the 50s. This resulted in the British invasion of the 60s, consisting of such bands as the Kinks, the Animals, and the Rolling Stones, who are still kicking. There was also this one other band you may have heard of. Der Volkswagens. Roser, who at the time was studying chemical engineering, along with his university friend Albert Bouchard, decided to abandon their careers to instead pursue the life of a rock star. At first, the band was called Soft White Underbelly. The name was given by the band's producer, Sandy Pearlman, who based it on a phrase by Churchill regarding the Italians. A bad review caused Pearlman to change the name quite a few times, actually, until they settled for Blue Oyster Cult. And by they, I mean the band didn't really like the name. Blue Oyster Cult was a poem by Pearlman regarding some aliens trying to secretly guide the world's history. So Pearlman settled for the name. But honestly, I like it. It has this mysterious vibe, so keep it hush hush. Here's a fun fact. Much of the band's music was actually based on Pearlman's poems. Roser didn't write that many songs during their first 4 albums. It wasn't until their 5th album, Agents of Fortune, that Roser proved himself as a songwriter and a vocalist. This was also the first album I listened to. It was recommended to me by my brother. It was freaking awesome. I absolutely loved it, and I would recommend each and every one of you to go out there and find this album and listen to it, or else. This is also the album where you will find their legendary song, Don't Fear the Reaper, which blew charts all around the world and even to this day appears in numerous lists. So, it's about freaking time we start talking about this song. The tone is set straight away by the guitar riff. You know something's underway, something scary, but at the same time there's a certain calm about it. It's both rocky and soothing. Then the drums start along with the legendary cowbells, which again gives it a combination of a rough and gentle sound, resulting in this mysterious feel. Finally, Roser starts singing, amplifying this effect by touching a certain topic we all fear and love. Death. Death is a big part of our lives. We experience it all the time, whether it's the ones close to us or just the general nature around us. And it doesn't necessarily have to be around, it's also within us. Think about it, we're constantly dying. Our bones are degrading, our cells are dying. It's everywhere, and we do understand the general mechanics of it. You live and you die. And despite there being no evidence of it, we love to talk and philosophize about death and the afterlife. We love to think that there's something more. It all just comes down to one thing. We're terrified of death. And that's what this song is about. Do you fear the Reaper? Do you fear dying? All our times have come. Here, but now they're gone. Seasons don't fear the Reaper, nor do the wind, the sun, or the rain. This is just Roser telling us we all die. It's only a matter of time, and that we all fear that moment. Nature, however, does not fear death. And it's cool that Roser uses inanimate objects that we can really relate to, such as the wind, the sun, and the rain, instead of just saying nature or some deity. Then death tells the person, "Come on, baby, don't feel the Reaper. Baby, take my hand, don't feel the Reaper. We'll be able to fly, don't feel the Reaper. Baby, I'm your man." Death is telling her to come with him, that things will be better on the other side, that her beloved is waiting for her. Romeo and Juliet are together in eternity. Romeo and 40,000 men and women every day. Romeo and 40,000 men and women every day. 40,000 coming every day. This is a Reaper comforting the idea of transcending into the afterlife. He's basically saying, this is a winning side, where I'll take you. There'll be no more pain, no more struggles. Just look at Romeo and Juliet, happy together in eternity. This is another good example of Roser using something we're familiar with. We all know the story of Romeo and Juliet and the opposition their relationship met, which ultimately resulted in their deaths. But in the afterlife, they're having a great time. Fun fact, the line regarding Romeo and Juliet led many listeners to believe this was a suicidal song. I can see how a mob of neurotic parents would believe that, however, they missed the mark. This was also addressed by Roser, who said he used Romeo and Juliet as motives for describing a couple who would meet again. Then finally, the lyrics turned cinematic. This part becomes so visual, it's almost like seeing it on the silver screen, except I'm seeing it through my freaking ears. This is similar to referencing Romeo and Juliet or the wind, the sun, and the rain. Roser is using concepts we're familiar with to help us form a picture of what he's singing about. In this case, it's your classic scene with Dracula or death or some entity coming through the balcony door. She doesn't fear the Reaper anymore, and thus death becomes soothing. She'll get to spend eternity with her loved ones. To summarize it all, the song's awesome. It has an amazing sound with a creepy-ass vibe. We know something's coming, yet there's a certain calm about it. The Reaper is familiar. We've seen death all our lives, yet it's so unfamiliar as we've never actually seen the Reaper. We fear it, yet in our final moments, we accept it and to some extent welcome it. I would strongly recommend checking out the whole album. Agents of Fortune. All tracks are remarkable, only to mention a few: This Ain't the Summer of Love, E.T.I., Tenderloin, and Debbie Denise. Also, if you want a good laugh, check out the SNL sketch called More cowbell. There's a whole story behind the cowbells. It's with Will Ferrell on the cowbell, Christopher Walken as the legendary producer Bruce Dickinson. What? Bruce Dickinson was like 10 years old when this came out. Anyway, it's hilarious, and Roser himself loves it. Though he stated it does take the creepiness out of the song, and I do agree it does take the creepiness out of the song. I hope you enjoyed the first episode of Ghosts of Halloween, also the review. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and make sure you don't miss out on the next episode. It's gonna get so much crazier. Wolf out.